Hi everyone, we're the Wellness Integration team where we're empowering leaders and supporting employees by battling the stigma of illness in the workplace. So, to get started on tackling our objectives, let's first understand what constitutes a healthy workplace.
The World Health Organization defines a healthy workplace as one that provides all members of the workforce with physical, psychological, social, and organizational conditions that protect and promote health and safety. It enables managers and workers to increase control over their own health and to improve it, and to become more energetic, positive, and contented.
So, let's now dive into some research and analysis on health conditions in the Australian workforce.
Analysis of Australia census data from 2023 suggests the impact of long-term health conditions is being felt across the spectrum of the workforce. People in occupation categories, manager and professional, make up 28% of workforce who identify as living with at least one chronic health condition. That's more than 1.1 billion Australians, and with most three-quarters of workers candidate that their illness affect their capacity to work. Employers are having to have some challenging to conversation about how to accommodate the needs of employees with long-term health conditions. Next one.
So, let's uncover the stigma behind illness at work. We spent a day at Sydney University's business school to find out what the students who will become the managers and leaders in the future workforce had to say about the conditions around disclosing health information in the workplace. How comfortable would you feel about disclosing a health condition to your manager or HR and asking them for adjustments?
I think I'd be comfortable enough to talk with them about it. I think that these sort of conditions would be very important, and I wouldn't want to continue working without them knowing what's going on in my life, essentially.
I would say that answer really depends on the particular manager. Just because in the past I have had managers who've been much more intimidating, I suppose, with things like that. I remember I actually struggled with two chronic health conditions, and one of my managers said, "Oh, you're always like, there's always a reason," or something when I asked for an adjustment, and that made me never want to bring it up again. Whereas when I'm more kind of self-employed, that's not an issue whatsoever. So I'd say it's not that I'm against it, it's just that I have felt intimidated out of it before.
I would say I'm quite comfortable and quite confident with talking to manager because, you need to tell your manager what your conditions are, and, if any changes that need to be made, then just it's their choice, right? So, but my job is to tell everyone that what my condition is. So, yeah.
Quite. I think that's probably, if it's a manager or HR, it's their job to deal with situations like that. So I feel very comfortable with disclosing that information.
Pretty comfortable. That's the HR manager's job, to know what's going on in your life according to how you can work. So yeah, at the end of the day, very comfortable. Obviously, context, it's a broad question, but in most scenarios, I would say yes.
If you disclose your diagnosis of a chronic illness, do you believe your colleagues would think that you are incapable of your job?
Well, first of all, the thing that I'm coming with my mind is that I need to share these things with my manager, either colleagues, managers, all the people that I'm working with, so that I don't need the opinion of if I'm capable of doing my job, because if I can, I do it. If I can't, I tell them.
No, I don't think so. I think I would expect my colleagues to be respectful of my situation, and that it might take me longer to do certain things, but I don't think it would be appropriate to decide on my behalf that I'm no longer capable of doing my job to an adequate level.
Well, if they're good colleagues, they shouldn't. But again, there's some colleagues who might, and there's also some contexts where it might be a bit tough. Like if I had chronic blindness and my job was to be a pilot, that's obviously not going to help. But again, in most scenarios, that shouldn't happen. So,
I don't believe my colleagues would think I was incapable of my job if I disclosed it. But I think when you see someone being treated differently, especially if you don't know the circumstances behind it, which so much of that is confidential, so your colleagues can't possibly know about it, wouldn't be right for them to know about it. But when you see adjustments being made for someone else and not for you, it can be really easy to feel bitter or for resentment to grow like that.
So what are the implications of our findings? The responses given by students highlight a range of attitudes towards disclosing health conditions in the workplace. There is a common theme of feeling uncomfortable or intimidated by managers, especially if they are perceived as unsupportive. However, there is also a strong belief in the importance of disclosing conditions and seeking adjustments, with many feeling it is a manager's responsibility to create a supportive environment. There is a clear distinction between questioning competence based on a chronic illness and recognizing that competence should be judged based on performance rather than health status. Overall, there is a call for understanding and support from colleagues and managers when it comes to managing health conditions at work. Our future managers and leaders hold great standards and high expectations, but what is the reality of today's situation in the world of work?
In a recent study conducted by the University of Melbourne, some striking statistics emerged regarding how employees handle illness in the workplace. A significant 42% of respondents admitted to feeling that their colleagues might doubt their ability to perform their job if they were to disclose their illness. Similarly, 39% expressed concern that revealing their illness could lead to being passed over for promotion. Astonishingly, 38% of leaders themselves believe that their career progression would be limited if they were to disclose their health condition. However, transparency seemed to be a rarity, with only 18% of leaders indicating they were fully transparent about their illness at work. The study also found that a majority of leaders engage in behaviors to actively conceal or minimize the visibility of their illness in the workplace. This included actions such as hiding symptoms, not disclosing the reason for absence, or masking visible symptoms during virtual meetings.
So now let's move on to why it is important for us to battle this prevailing issue.
The study highlighted a crucial link between a leader's tendency to disclose their illness and the perception of psychological safety within the organization. Leaders who trusted their organization and supervisors were more likely to disclose their illness completely. Creating a culture that supports disclosure is vital. It not only encourages leaders to seek help and request reasonable adjustments that support them to continue to do their best work, but also sends a strong signal to all employees that having a chronic health condition does not devalue their status as a valued member of the workplace, nor does it dampen their prospects for career advancement.
Well, in a time of severe skill and labour shortages, there's an extra incentive for Australian employers to ensure that they have a culture in place to retain the leaders, managers, and employees that comprise our skilled workforce. So now it's time for us to get strategizing.